India's top court says pained at the communal angle being given to ban on cracker sale, ban stays, but Supreme Court says if you've already bought your crackers, then you can burst them. National outrage 2 months ago has changed nothing on ground. 75 children die at the BRD hospital in Gorakhpur in the last 5 days. Who will save the children of Uttar Pradesh? Trouble brewing for Pinto. Supreme Court has asked the owners of the Ryan International Group of Schools to respond on a plea seeking to cancel their bail in the Pradyuman murder case. Paperwork delays the release of Nupur and Rajesh Talwar acquitted in the Arushi and Hemraj murder case. Talwars may only walk out of prison on Monday now. Big boost for the fight to end gender discrimination. Supreme Court refers the Sabrimala case to a 5-judge constitution bench to decide whether all women should be allowed to enter the temple. All attempts to evade law have failed. Haryana BJP chief's son charged with abduction, stalking and drunk driving. Complainant says slap in the face of those who doubted her. Good to have you with us this Friday evening on Big Story with me, Anguished Shukla. Straight up is our big story. Let's play out the visuals on your screen. This is what happens to the national capital every winter, the kind of smog that burns your eyes and makes it difficult for you to breathe. The Supreme Court has banned the sale of firecrackers in the national capital region in the light of the growing environmental concerns. After the night of Diwali, for the next several days, it's a blanket of dense smog that shrouds the national capital. Absolutely difficult to step out during those days. It also gives rise to respiratory problems. In a move to support the environment, the court has decided to see if limiting the fireworks will have any impact on the environment. But this isn't the only step that has been taken. Viewers will remember the odd-even rule that was experimented with multiple times with the Delhi government. You will also remember the crackdown on old vehicles, especially the diesel vehicles, because of the kind of pollution they were leading to. You will also remember the ban of heavy vehicles into the national capital to ensure that at least during the daytime there is less pollution. So to those people who now turn around and say that this ban on firecrackers is communal in nature, the top court today refused to modify its ban and said that it is anguished and pained to see the kind of communal angle that is being given. The Supreme Court has now directed the Delhi police to implement the ban on the sale of firecrackers, and it has gone on to say that the move has been made in the favor of environment. Meenakshi is on the phone line. Meenakshi, tell us what's transpired in the court today when some of the fireworks traders went back to top court seeking and hoping for some relief.
Well, indeed, Tanvi, and their attempts at perhaps getting the Supreme Court to see their side of the debate has met with a knot because the Supreme Court is convinced in its mind about the veracity, about the effectiveness of its earlier order, which has gone ahead and categorically stated that there cannot be any sale of crackers in Delhi-NCR till at least the 1st of November. But interestingly, the court has also today noted as to how pained and anguished it is by the religious colors that has been given to its original orders because the order is over and above religion is what essentially the Supreme Court meant because this is something which concerns all of us. This is a health hazard. It has been widely acknowledged by various governments and authorities about the impact of this particulate matter which stays suspended in the atmosphere, Tanvi, and thereby goes on to cause so many problems for so many people across the spectrum, be that a little child, women, asthmatic patients. Everybody is aggrieved by it. So in the larger interest of the society, Tanvi, the Supreme Court indeed has exercise is jurisdiction. Remember, Article 19G of the Constitution gives you freedom to practice your profession, but at the same time, there is a big rider to that, Tanvi. You can practice a profession as long as it is not a health hazard for anyone else. And none of the rights are absolute in nature, and Supreme Court today showing the way and also making this observation whether people should be more mindful, one, about their own safety, about their own health, and secondly, they understand better the essence and also the larger message behind any of Apex Court's interventions.
Now, Meenakshi, there was also a clarification we understand from the court, because a lot of people have been wondering, what about those who already have some kind of access to fireworks? They will be allowed to burst crackers. So implementation may be a challenge here, because then you don't know whether you've bought the crackers now or earlier, and then anyone probably can burst crackers.
Well, Sandy, interesting you ask us that, because, you know, just about 5 minutes back, we have an on-record conversation with Harish Salve himself for Mirror Now, which we will be uplinking in a short while. In that, and to quote Mr. Harish Salve, he said this, that the people really need to introspect whether it is the Supreme Court against the people of Delhi or whether it is Supreme Court for the people of Delhi. Indeed, there was this clarification which was provided by the Supreme Court, wherein the Supreme Court said those who have procured these crackers before the ban was put in place by the Supreme Court could go ahead and burst it. But again, isn't that the moot point here? The purpose of the order and the essence with which it has been passed should also weigh in on people's minds as they look into burst crackers.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we've also been saying here that a bigger change towards a cleaner environment will only come when people decide that this must change and this must come from the people themselves. Meenakshi Bancha, thank you so much for bringing us that update. We'll also, and thank you for highlighting what Hari Salve also had to point out over this story. We've also got Shashi Menon, an environmentalist, on the phone line. Good evening. Thank you so much for speaking with us. It's really quite unfortunate that the courts have to come out and even, be in a situation where they feel the need to justify that this order isn't communal in nature, and it's sad that a communal twist is being given to something that has to do with the environment.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you totally. In fact, it is also a very unfortunate thing that now our courts are telling us how we have to behave correctly. But at the same time, I feel that it is a good thing that somebody is telling us there is time hardly remaining and we should take action. We have been talking about reducing the firecrackers, reducing their decibels and controlling even the noise pollution. But then nobody, really takes that into so seriously, and we have still been using all these all along. And now when the court has intervened and told us this is the right way of doing it, now we find that that is wrong, which is very, very, I feel it very, paradoxical actually. In fact, a silent Diwali would be a much better place for us to enjoy. And as you rightly said, there is so much of pollution due to these chemicals. People don't realize it.
Yes, hello? Mr. Menon, do you also believe, though, that at some point a larger change can only happen when people do it themselves? At the end of the day, there may be a ban on sale of fireworks today in the national capital, but there's no stopping people if they want to go out and get crackers from somewhere else and burst them.
Yes, I do agree with you that but then see, I believe personally that this is a very major environmental decision, and somebody has now forced us to fall in line. It can happen now that people will now go against the law because they would like to break the law and then enjoy. But that's only going to be a smaller percent. Tomorrow you will see that majority, in fact totally everybody will shift to no crackers. Somebody had to give us a very big push, and I think this will break the inertia of the society.
Many of the children that we meet today are so much more aware and environmentally conscious, and perhaps that generation in a few years will ensure and insist that we have a cleaner and a pollution-less Diwali. But let's take this conversation to on a larger basis, Mr. Menon. This is not the only step that is being taken to bring down the pollution in the national capital, from odd even rule to crop burning in the neighboring states to crack down on old vehicles. We've seen a lot. Are our governments at some point failing with a more comprehensive long-term plan, though?
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, finally, things are, the unfortunate thing in our country, in many of the environmental law, is that not that the law is not powerful, neither that the law has any, there is lack of provisions. It is basically at the point of implementation that things go wrong. And therefore, when there is a higher authority like a court, which tells you that this should be implemented, I think the implementation also would go in the right direction. So I'm looking at these court orders only as a catalyst. It was something like, unless the international, agencies had to come together and talk about carbon trading and so on, that we started thinking of reducing the carbon emission. Then there was other issues like when things became too serious, the Pollution Control Board started implementing the strictures on the companies. So somewhere, our society needs that catalyst action by a more powerful agency. But for it to sustain, I agree, I repeat, to sustain this effect of this particular action, we need complete citizen support and very proactive and complete sincere effort from the people also.
Yes, and if through the year people take more efforts, to in their own ways, their own contribution to lower the pollution levels and to help the environment, then perhaps, in a few years we'll also have a situation where some amount of fireworks will also be all right. I find it very interesting that it is the court that has to say, well, let's test it out this year and see if we put a ban on the sale, if that helps the environment. Now, these are things that one would expect the government to be doing, but we don't see that kind of initiative.
See, I can put a corollary here. Take the example of that, banning of loudspeakers after 10:30 in the night. When it started, there was a big hue and cry. But today, everybody feels, why is this happening if somebody goes beyond 10:30? Nobody is complaining. So, as you rightly said, it will get into our lifestyle. And we will realize that these are things we can live without and have a more peaceful life. In fact, I would like to mention here that there are now, there were several schools in Mumbai and surrounding area where the school children, I'm talking about, primary and lower primary children, who were walking with banners on their necks saying no crackers. I mean, they don't want it. They are the ones who enjoy most with crackers. They have realized that it's of no use.
Yes.
I mean, we should learn from our kids.
Yes. I also wanted your views on the other aspect that we seem to be struggling with right now. There is a ban on crop burning, which is one of the other big reasons for the kind of smog that we see every winter in the national capital, Mr. Menon. But it looks like despite the Green Tribunal's order, the state governments, especially the state of Punjab, has failed in supporting their farmers to say, okay, here is the equipment, here is the money, this is how you should dispose these things off, rather than burning them and adding to the problem.
Yeah, I agree here. The point that to be noted is, see, farmer is somebody who needs very close, working and very sympathetic approach to their issues. They are burning the crops not because they don't want to burn it. It is because that's the easiest way of, increasing the fertility of the land. That's what they have been doing for ages. And today, when you have such a kind of an order, government should be proactive. Agriculture department should be proactive and also help the farmers that without burning, how they can improve the crops, improve the fertility of the land. The land has already got spoiled with fertilizers and over irrigation. So many issues are there. When you go to the, grassroots issues, burning is not that issue the farmer is worried about. He would not burn if he can be taught that there is a good alternative.
Yes.
So along with this order, the government agencies have to be more proactive.
Yes, and here we have the example of the Punjab government and the central government who seem to be pointing fingers at each other with the Punjab government allegedly saying that they haven't received the funds from the centre. The centre says we've given them at least 50 crores to deal with this problem. At the end of the day, it's the people of Punjab, Haryana and Delhi who will have to suffer and answer to their children why they cannot provide them clean air. Mr. Menon, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Mirror Now as we highlight this big story. It's not a communal cracker. That's the hashtag. Our phone lines are also open. If you have a view about various courts, not just the top court, the Bombay High Court has come out with a few restrictions on firecracker sale. The Punjab High Court today came out, Punjab and Haryana High Court today came out with restrictions saying the time for bursting fireworks will be limited. The sale will also be restricted. The courts are now stepping in. Should it be the executive, should it be the judiciary, or should people themselves realize the kind of damage that these fireworks and crackers do, and perhaps there is an alternative way of celebrating Diwali? I've got our first caller on the phone line. Naveen Sharma is calling us from Pune. Good evening, Naveen. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I've been hearing about this thing in various channels about the cracker ban. Okay, look, my view is very simple. India is a very diversified country. Okay. And there is not that great literate people who can understand the repercussion about this pollution part. Okay. Now, Mr. Menon was pointing out about crop burning, right? That's happening in Punjab. Hello?
Go ahead, yes.
Yeah. So, those are major issues which needs more concern. Pollution coming from the vehicle are more important issues. I'm telling you, what happens is when there is this kind of a blanket ban, it goes in a very different manner in the mindset of people. You're finding various people, trying to communalize the way of, expressing their anger about this. I am of a belief that let people decide what is to be done. Like people are in various places educated enough to, control their, bursting, if I may say. By just, stopping somebody to just totally do without it will never happen. I'm telling you. Even when you are going to, when some experts are going to measure the quality of air, let's say on 19 if Diwali is there, the next day it would be the same only. Because people will, come out with the view that, okay, you stopped us, now you have it. So
maybe we can, you have a good point there, and I agree with you. Maybe this example, this opportunity can be taken by people to say, okay, we don't want these kind of repercussions next time. Let's together today decide, Naveen, that throughout the year, for the rest of the 364 days, 365 days, we will ensure that we reduce the amount of harmful emissions, pollution, and be more environmentally aware as citizens. And you're right, this change has to come from the citizens as far as that is concerned. Thank you so much for calling us and sharing your views. Callers, our lines are open. We're going to take a very short break. We'll come back. We'll take more of your calls, and we've also got a big reaction lined up from top lawyer Harish Salve on this big story, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Former Solicitor General and top lawyer Harish Salve speaks to Mirror Now on the Supreme Court's order on the sale of banning the sale of crackers. Listen in.
Joining us, Mr. Harish Salve, who has in the past expressed considerable amount of concern pertaining to this pollution levels. So, your thoughts, your perspective on, traders today wanting the Supreme Court to modify.
No, that's all right. They have a right. They came. The court said no. I think it's unfortunate that any religious aspersion or religious color is being given to this. The court felt strongly about the need to preserve the quality of the air, and that must trump any fervor we have. I mean, we have to live with what we have, and if this is what we have done to our air, then the day has come we have to forego certain pleasures in life.
One quick question. Supreme Court also today said that people who have procured these crackers can go ahead and burst them.
Yeah, well, for the simple reason there is no order which says they can't, and it's impossible to police it. But the
intention of the judgment.
No, I want to understand one thing. It is Supreme Court versus the people of Delhi, or Supreme Court for the people of Delhi? If the Supreme Court has gone thus far, can we also not participate and say yes, we will not burn crackers the way the city so warmly responded to the odd and even or other experiments?
Wow.
Time has come. We have to take responsibility for cleaning our own air.
So there you have it, Mr. Harish Salve. Nobody perhaps can put it better than him when he says that is it the court versus the people of Delhi, or is it Supreme Court for the people of Delhi that people really need to introspect on. In New Delhi, Meenakshi for Mirror Now.
I've got Mr. S. Kumar calling us from Mumbai. Good evening, Mr. Kumar. What would you want to say?
Good evening, ma'am. I would say always the Supreme Court think, the judiciary think they are always right. Though the aim is right that pollution is there, but they forget number one, lots of poor people, whole life is dependent on that. This judgment should have come 1 year back, at least 6 months back. Number two, this judiciary, what they have said, okay, they were looking for the people, is a communal, yes. You see, after all, Diwali is Diwali. They could say only 2 hours on the day of Diwali, that's fine. But to say no crackers totally is again the half thing of Diwali is gone.
So, Mr. Kumar, we've also got a clarification now coming in today that the court's made that there is no ban on bursting fireworks at all right now.
Okay.
The ban is on any further sale of fireworks. So those who've already bought the fireworks, they can go ahead and burst them. So Supreme Court today actually said, who said we've banned bursting crackers at all? So, I mean, one must also try and understand it's not that the courts are against us, like Harish Salve was also saying. It's for us perhaps the time to understand that we are also damaging our environment. And like you said, plan in advance now. And hopefully next year we'll have a better plan way in advance so that there is no business loss to anybody as well. Mr. Kumar, thank you for calling us and sharing your views. Our phone lines are open right now. We want to understand from you where you stand on this debate. The Supreme Court saying that they are very well aware that some communal twist has been given to it. But at the end of the day, the order on the sale of fireworks is only keeping in mind the environment itself. Remember that the Bombay High Court has also come out to restrict the sale of fireworks in a complete ban in residential areas. It's been cut down by half in commercial areas. The Punjab and Haryana High Court has also come out to say, well, there will be restrictions on the number of licenses given out to those who can sell the crackers. So thereby, they're hoping that there is lesser sale, and people who want to burst crackers should do it between 6:30 and 9:30. I'm sure most viewers can relate to that. It helps with anybody who doesn't want to get disturbed post 9:30 p.m. I believe we've got one more caller on the phone line. Anil Dhawan is on, Anil Dhawan is on the phone line. Good evening. There is a big debate going on about various courts stepping in when it comes to this ban. Where do you stand on the issue?
I'm watching it. The point is the waste material, whatever is left over after busting the crackers, like the boxes and the waste of the crackers, is being again burned in the morning. And that again creates a lot of pollution. It creates a lot of trouble to the old people and the people, those who are suffering from asthma and all of that. So it is very good that it is being banned. It should not be allowed because 1 day, 2 days, if you are burning something, it is easy. But if it is on a high level, it is really something like to dying the people.
Yes, and Mr. Dhawan, you live in Delhi. I'm sure you've seen every year what the state of the national capital becomes come winters. The smog, the burning sensation in your eyes, barely able to see, barely able to breathe. So many people report then with the respiratory and breathing problems. So let everybody come together this festival and say, well, this is a good step. Let's see if it helps our environment. Thank you so much, Anil Dhawan, for calling us. Let's step into a short break on this edition of The Big Story. Lots more on the other side.